Hi, this is Justin with Infinity HD. We are a home theater installation company here in Arizona. Today I want to talk to you about a project we did a couple months ago. This project was a bit of a challenge, mainly because it involved working with a lot of equipment that our company didn't install. Our job was basically to go in and do a bit of housekeeping, which is easier said than done. What we encountered at the job during our first consultation were these two massive networking panels. These panels are very common. They serve as a place to house all the networking, phone, and video cables in your home. They're great for keeping wires concealed and organized. But here's what happens. Whenever a telephone, cable, or satellite technician comes in to do an upgrade or activate a service, they'll just add to it. They'll put in a modem or install a router or plug in a distribution amp without really removing any old equipment or keeping the wiring maintained. So over time, the panel becomes this very cumbersome and complex mess. And you see in these photos, the wiring is so scattered here that the client couldn't even close the panel doors. Now this room was their pantry. So every day they walked in to grab ingredients for breakfast, they had to look at this disaster of wiring. What they wanted was for the whole thing to be cleaned up and for any old obsolete equipment to be removed so that they could have the panel doors closed. We looked it over and came up with a game plan and gave them a quote. We estimated it would take about 2 full days to complete the rewiring, and this included unplugging all the wiring, trimming the cables, mounting the hardware, and tidying up the panel to try and make it look as aesthetically pleasing as we could. Now, a big challenge with this project was there were a lot of components and a lot of service feeds that needed to be rewired. But they were running a business out of their home, and they couldn't be offline for too long or they would lose business and potential revenue. So we had to be careful with what we were disconnecting and what we needed to keep online. Now you can see hanging here is a cable modem for the internet. Below that is a telephone interface, which provides one primary voice line and 2 fax lines for the home. The gray box above that is a network switch, which splits the internet feed to multiple locations throughout the house. The black box in the middle is a doorbell module. And all these rails on the side here with pins sticking out are part of a telephone splice point, which splits the phone lines to various locations throughout their home. Here we have the next panel. This one was mainly for security, automation, and video distribution. You can see a box here that says Channel Vision that amplifies the cable service coming in, which in turn feeds these 2 splitters here that send the cable TV to multiple rooms throughout the house. It looks here like they have about 16 TV locations. Next, there's a big printed circuit board on the bottom with a lot of wires coming out, and that's an HAI security and automation control board. So this was a bit of a challenge. Going into this, we had to make sure we didn't short anything out and didn't interfere with their business, and when we were done, had to make sure that it all worked the same way it did before we got started. First, we spent about a half a day just labeling and testing all the wires to see what was being used and what wasn't. After another half day, we got to this point with the first panel. You can see we tried to make 90-degree angles and bundle the cables as much as we could. All the components you see, the big difference is that they are mounted inside the panel and not just hanging outside spread all over the place. Here's the next panel. We didn't disconnect all the security cables and redo them. We just bundled them up and tried to maintain them as best as we could, as you can see here. And we use Velcro. Velcro is awesome. It has 2 sides and you can wrap it around the cables. If you need to make a change or add something in later, you can undo the Velcro, add the cable, and redo it again. It's really helpful. A lot of companies and a lot of installers will use zip ties, but if you don't have a handful of zip ties around, it's really hard to make a change to the system without making a mess of it again. So Velcro is very handy in a situation like this where you have service providers coming in and making changes to it. Using Velcro in this project will definitely help to ensure the wires stay maintained for a long time into the future. There you can see a picture of the panel before we got started. Now you can see a picture of it finished. You see the router, the D-Link box, the cable modem, and the phone interface were all moved to the top and mounted on the wall, and then the cables were concealed. Both panels were able to be closed. We didn't have any challenges with networking or security wires not working when we got it up and running, so it was a successful project. It's really all about taking the time, paying attention to the details, and making sure it's done right. Now, I had fun on this job, and I'm glad we got the opportunity to do it. This is a pretty extreme example of a networking panel that needs tidying up. We generally do work on panels that have a couple dozen cables, and it usually only takes a couple hours. Hopefully this gives you some insight into how you can improve the networking in your home. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and check out our other projects at infinityhd.tv and click on Projects. Again, I'm Justin with Infinity HD. Until next time.